Hello, I'm Jerry Van Houten, your general manager. I'm here today with Rex Davis, our new golf course superintendent. And we're here to share with you some information to tell you the status of your golf course and some of the processes and transitions that will take place in the months ahead. Rex, my first question to you, sir, is we aerified with a half-inch tine and sanded on top, and it's been a slow recovery for our greens. Can you explain to us that process and what's happened?
Yeah, there's several factors that would contribute to that. One would be just how we entered into the spring. Basically what you do in the fall is you stock the bank with carbohydrates and energy. And when you really don't have anything to start with coming out of the summer months, then it's hard to build that bank up. And so going into the spring, our bank account was, so to speak, empty. So as we entered in the aerification, we were slow to heal because we really didn't have a firm program built at that time. Another thing is just the aerification dates, which were scheduled, are a little bit moving forward, and we would like to bring those back to coincide with our fungicide program, which is set up to keep our summer conditions to be as healthy as possible. And that's some of the contributing factors.
Okay. I know that you're planning on aerifying the course again right after the Crown Cup, the week of May 26th, 7th, and 8th. Why is that so critical to do it at that time?
Well, at that time, that's really the most critical aerification. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get some gas exchange in there, and then we're also trying to incorporate good veins of sand so we can have air movement down to the roots. As we get into the summer months, those are going to be our beneficial parts to getting root growth and development during the summer months.
So the growing time would be better at that time, so they should heal with 2 to 3 weeks?
We should be healed in quicker than we will in the spring. You can anticipate that.
Okay. I've also heard some comments, and I've seen that some of the collars and approaches to our greens have a lot of poana. Can you explain to us kind of your plan to rid
We have several chemicals that we are looking to do some chemical control with the poana. And then starting this fall, that's when we will start our preventative program as far as applying a pre-emergent herbicide to keep the weed from germinating, and then anything that breaks past that barrier, then we will actually go into the fall and spray out with Roundup.
Okay. There is a barrier you talked about putting up?
Yes, we were looking at doing a transition chemical in close to the greens that actually removes a cool season grass from a warm season grass. And the problem with this chemical is that it can move laterally in the soil, which could go into our bent grass greens, so we're going to install landscape barriers around those areas to keep that chemical from penetrating and going into the greens.
So if a guy's golf ball hits it, they just lift it above it?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Those will only be out there for around 3 to 4 days, depending on weather. And the reason why we're keeping those there is just to kind of be overcautious that we're protecting our greens away from this chemical. And that's the reason why we want to do it in conjunction with the aerification time, so we have the golf course closed down, and we have a controlled environment where people are not walking onto the greens, and our crew is the only people that are actually on the golf course at the time.
Great. Also, we've noticed on some of the fairways some real thin areas and bare spots, and especially number 3 has some. What are your thoughts? What's your plans?
A lot of these places that everybody's saying that have the appearance of being dead are areas that have been infected with a thing called spring death spot, and that's a thatch-related fungus. And what we're doing for those areas is we're going in and taking rakes, and we're raking all the dead material out, and then putting sand in and top dressing it, and then actually making additional fertilizer application on that area as well to get it to fill in quicker. And with a thatch-related problem, what we're looking to do is during the summer we're going to do a lot of cultural programs as far as we're going to aerify the fairways to relieve some of the thatch problems. We're also going to verticut the fairways. We're looking to do those. We have to schedule twice this summer to relieve some of the compaction, so that in further years we want to reduce the thatch level to where it's not as detrimental to the turf as it is at this point. So that's what we're looking to do for the future. We have to start now to make things better for the future.
Explain a little bit what the thatch layer is so they understand that.
Thatch layer is all the decomposition that goes on from the grass plant going. As the grass plant grows, then the older leaves eventually die off as the new leaves are coming through. Well, all this organic material just gets into a layer, which is called the thatch layer, and that is, it's comprised of stolons and rhizomes and also leaf material that is breaking down. And in that area is kind of the decomposition stage, and then when it's actually filtered down into the soil at that point. So we want to keep that where it's not building at a rapid rate. In an area like a fairway or a green where you're constantly mowing and it receives a lot of traffic and a lot of wear, then your thatch layer level can increase there more rapidly than anywhere else. And so those are the areas that you have to control that culturally. And that's the reason why we aerify the greens 3 times a year. And that's the reason why we want to aerify the Bermuda areas that are in play more often. We want to aerify those 2 to 3 times a year to keep that area controlled. That way that we're controlling the turf, and we're trying to work well with it to get its best performance and also get the return that we want out of it as well.
Yeah, the fairways are critical. I know in my 4 years here, we've only tried to aerify the fairways one time, and that was not very successful. But you're going to aerify, put sand back in, and I guess that's to break apart the ground underneath it.
Exactly. Well, what that's looking to do is we're looking to move some of the, as the soil type that we have here, we want to create some veins in that we can move the water down past the surface so we can actually increase the surface drainage of the fairways. And that's what we're looking to do by putting the sand in there, but also the sand adds in the decomposition of the thatch layer as well. Because as the thatch layer gets larger and larger, then it gets tighter and tighter, and that means that it holds a lot more water, and then it takes longer for that area to actually break down. So if you have sand particles in there that can kind of break that up and loosen that thatch layer, you have more water going through, you have more nutrients getting through, so it can get down into the roots instead of getting tied up in that layer, and the roots have no reason to go downward to chase the water or chase fertilizer, because it's all just stuck in that thatch layer. So that's the reason why you want to dilute it with sand.
Very good. I will say this to all of our members, that if you have any questions, Rex's always available to answer any of them. He's a good golfer, likes to play with different groups, and get to know him. He's our superintendent, and he's going to take our course to a new step, and that's going to take us a good 18 months to get there. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I hope we answered your question.